Hey guys, and welcome to r/ShortScaryStories, the series where I show off my reading skills and then rate the stories that I've read. It's fair, okay? The first story that we're going to be reading is by Reddit user WordDogger, and this one's called The Good Nurse. What a shame, is what the nurse said under her breath as she went into Peter Jensen's room. Of course, he'd only had a case of appendicitis, and the surgery had gone well. And he was expected to go home tomorrow. Still, it was a shame that someone as young and virile as he should wind up in a hospital bed. "Morning," she chirped as she approached his bedside. "You look much better today than you did last night." "I feel better, too. Anesthesia's a kick in the head." "Yes, it is." She held his wrist to check his pulse. "Did you have breakfast then?" "Such as it was. Runny oatmeal and dry toast." My favourite." She raised his head slightly and fluffed his pillow. "Can I get you anything? Are you feeling any pain?" "Not really. I mean, it hurts, but that's to be expected. They did cut me open after all." "Yes, they did." She retrieved the syringe from her pouch, the one she'd prepared especially for him. "Thank God for drugs, right?" She plunged the syringe into his IV port. "That won't put me to sleep, will it? My wife's going to be here in about an hour." "Sleep?" She smiled reassuringly. "No, but it will keep you from feeling pain while she's here." She patted his hand and then started out of the room. He called to her as she reached the doorway. "In case I don't see you again, I just wanted to let you know that you're an excellent nurse. You're a credit to this hospital." She gave him another smile and then headed for her next patient, Mrs. Jones. Poor Mrs. Jones. There was nothing in particular wrong with her. Just a lot of little things on top of the fact that she was old and all alone. Her husband had died last year and her two children were too busy with their own lives to pay attention to her. The nurse had seen this kind of thing before. Her body was starting to shut down because she'd lost the will to live. "And how's my favourite patient this morning?" "Oh, it's you. I'd been sleeping. I'm so glad you've come." "Did you have a good night?" "Bad dreams. I had bad dreams." The nurse heard the code blue alarm sound from the nurse's station, and the ensuing clatter as her co-workers set about trying to save Mr. Jensen. They wouldn't, but they'd give it a gallant try. "Are you in pain, dear?" "Oh yes, it hurts all over." "Well, I think I can help." The nurse reached into her little pouch and pulled out the syringe she'd prepared especially for Mrs. Jones. She bent to find the IV port, but before she did, she felt a sharp sting in her left buttock, followed immediately by a searing pain. She whirled just as Mrs. Jones retracted the syringe, her own special syringe. "You're an evil little bitch," Mrs. Jones said. "It'll be good to see you gone." Okay, so really good story. I liked the ending. I was kind of rooting for Mrs. Jones to do something or someone to catch the horrible nurse, but no, it was a good story. It is creepy, just for the fact that there are true stories of nurses and doctors that have killed a lot of people, and I'm talking in for some, probably always got away with it and ended up killing like hundreds, and they've probably never been caught. But yeah, there are people like this out there, so really good, eye-opening story, and I'm going to give that one a 4 out of 5. It did creep me out a little bit. The ending was a good ending, and yeah, it was a really good read too, so kudos to you. The next story is by Reddit user The Scarlet Priest, and this one's called Demons Aren't Liars, We're Just Brutally Honest. I'm sure you've learned from Sunday school that the devil is the father of all lies, and his servants follow suit. Here's the thing though, we hardly lie, and when we do, it's something to get humans to confess. Humans are the true liars. They build layers of facades around themselves to hide their true disgusting nature. All we do is strip all that away, letting you gaze at your true self and how wretched you truly are. Here's the truth. You always say the devil made you do it, but you know deep down that you made you do it. Confused? I'm sure you are. I'll give you an example. I was sent from hell to visit a pastor. You know the type. He was having an affair with a married woman while his own wife had cancer. He was essentially waiting for her to die. He used his position for power and influence rather than serving God. I've seen more sincerity from the homeless. But that was not why I visited him. He essentially condemned an innocent man to death. The man was accused of murdering a woman. It was clear the man was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, but that didn't matter. The case was cold and unsolved, so the preacher advocated for community justice in his sermons. The man was later found hanging from a tree. Don't worry, the killers will get theirs, but that's not my department. I visited him in his so-called church. Normally, demons can't go into churches, but this one was so full of sin and lies, I could just walk through the door and be fine. God was nowhere to be found. His congregation was even worse, but again, that's not my department. I found the man in the chapel. My appearance gave him a fright. I usually change my form for these things, but for this wretch, it wasn't even worth it. I remember the conversation fondly. "This is the house of God! You must leave now!" he said defiantly. I laughed and gestured to the building. "This is an empty box. Why do you think I could walk right in?" The man was taken aback. "God is in all his churches." I smiled. His love is not unconditional. He doesn't love me, and he doesn't love you. He looked scared. "Everything I do is in his name." I laughed. "That's why I'm here. A man hung because you thought he was guilty, and you gave your blessing for his death." The fool tried to deny it. "He was a murderer." I raised an eyebrow. "Are you trying to convince me? God? Or yourself?" More lies will not save you. I know who you are. You are a sinful, lustful, power-hungry hypocrite. He fell to his knees, confirming everything I knew. I smiled. No wonder he's abandoned you. He's enjoying his place in hell now. Remember, demons aren't liars. We're just brutally honest. That was a good story. It was nice to be a demon for a few minutes. I actually enjoyed that. I like the way the conversation flows between them, and the typical, stereotypical, should I say, pastor or priest, where this is God's house, you must leave now. Sort of like a really, really discount version of Gandalf. That's how I imagine this pastor to be. So yeah, I enjoyed that. It was humorous, not really that creepy. So I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. I didn't find it creepy, but I enjoyed it, which is always a bonus. So 3 out of 5 for me. 3 out of 5 spooky wookies. Moving on, this is by Reddit user Her Creation. I know, right? No Hyper Obscura this week? What's going on? I think I've kind of done too much Hyper Obscura. I kind of need to give some other people a chance, because it seems that they always score the highest on every single episode of this that I do, so, you know, I've got to be fair, I've got to balance it out a little bit, you know, let somebody else have a go. Not that any of them have probably watched my series anyway, but for those of you that do watch it, I mean, surely you want to hear some different styles. I definitely want to read some different styles anyway, so. This is by her creation, and it's called The Fall. When I wake, all I feel is pain. Splitting agony in my arm and skull, a dull ache in my ankle. I'm troubled to realise I'm not home in bed, safe in my husband's arms. Worse still, I don't know where I am at all. The blaring sun tells me I'm outside, but where? The ground beneath me is uneven and rough. As my eyes adjust, I see that I'm in a forest clearing, alone. Not only that, but I'm hurt. Badly. Risking a glimpse down at my arm, I'm instantly horrified. The bones have snapped into a gruesome compound fracture. Anxiety gives way to abject terror. I know I'll die if I don't find a way out soon. I'm sure there are predators here, and I'm easy prey. Sitting up, I wince as I reposition my injured arm. Luckily, my ankle isn't as bad. It's twisted, but I should be able to walk. I place my good hand on a boulder to lift myself up further, shifting my weight onto my relatively intact leg. Already, I'm exhausted. My heart sinks. I'll never get out of here. An abrupt sound stirs me out of hopelessness. It's a man's voice. My husband's. Calling my name. Latha! I can hear that he's winded. He must have been searching high and low for me. I track his voice up the cliff beside me. A vague understanding begins to form in my mind. I've fallen. Eli? Honey, down here! He shuffles onto the cliff. Something in the way he moves sounds different, slower, more deliberate. As he peers over the edge down at me, I understand why. Gone is the agile Eli I know, replaced by a man with silver white hair and deep-set wrinkles. Still, I can't deny it's him. I know it is. Eli! He catches his breath until, finally, he speaks. Latha, I know I didn't do right by you, he shouts. I wasn't faithful to you. I should have appreciated you while you were mine, while you were still here. Please, Eli, I don't understand. He draws in a shaking breath. My new wife used me, bled me dry. I'm left with nothing, he wails, crying. And to think, I pushed you to your death for her. My blood runs cold as I recall his betrayal. I can hear Eli retreating now, leaving me here just as he did years ago. Footfalls come down hard and rapid on the overhang. A running start before he launches himself off the precipice. Eventually, he wakes, disorientated, lying on that boulder. I'm standing over him, his face so brutalized he's barely recognizable. I think he'd have smiled if he could. Latha? What's happened? I tighten my grip on the sharpened rock in my hand. You had a fall, honey. Hours later, he's out cold again. I'll continue with him later, but for now, I must stay awake. I'm tired, but I can't sleep. I can't forget again. Okay, so a very, very nice betrayal story. It's like a top 10 anime betrayals. So I think the premise is every time the Letha, I probably butchered that name, but every time the ghost version of this character goes to sleep, she forgets and wakes up again. That's probably why it's been years since she's actually fallen. And obviously her ex-husband, who killed her, has now killed himself. Or has he killed himself? I actually don't know from the story whether he's killed himself and it's his ghost version that's woken up, or... I mean, someone's probably going to comment calling me an idiot, but for me... So, Eli pushed his wife off a cliff, but regretted the decision after the woman that he killed her for took all his money. Regretting the decision that he made, he came and killed himself. So I think he's dead. And is the afterlife basically you're tied to the place where you died, and she's got a rock in her hand, so she's going to torture his ghost, from what I can see. That's a really good story because I'm thinking about it so much. It's really well written as well. You know where them stories don't give you the exact answers and you have to sort of work it out for yourself? I like those sort of stories. I'm going to give this one a 4.99999 out of 5. It's not quite got the wow factor at the end, but it's a really good story and I really enjoyed reading it. So that's getting a 4.9. Good job. So, thank you for listening to the latest in the r/Short Scary Stories segment. And to all the new subscribers, old subscribers, future subscribers, thank you very much. You have made this month, I know it's the 1st of October, but I mean September, really, 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 really good for me. So, it's been amazing to gain over 100 subscribers in less than a month. For me is an amazing feeling. And it's all thanks to you guys, so thank you once again and take care.